and a whole lot of amazing concepts. And he developed the BHAG, the Big Hairy Audacious Goal concept, way back when. And he was reflecting on a conversation that he'd had with Peter Drucker, who was the godfather of strategy and in business strategy, you know, in the 90s and 2000s. And he met him when he was in his 60s or 70s, and Jim was 30 something. And Peter Drucker finished the day and said to him, as he got out, as he got out of the hire car, he said to Jim, "You've been talking a lot about how do I know if I'm successful? How can I be successful?" And Peter Drucker says to him, "I think you're," he goes, "and will he be successful?" And Peter Drucker says, "So the answer to the question is yes, you will. But that's not the question. The question is, are you going to be useful?"
I'm writing it down.
Such an amazing. I'll put it in the chat for people because I actually have it transcribed.
There we go.
Perfect. Yeah. So how are you going to be useful? And I love that because for him, Jim Collins is all about creating values-driven, purpose-driven businesses that create revenue and impact. But it's about the impact that we're going to be. But how are you going to be useful? So it's not just about making money. It's not just about, and great because we're talking about that kind of enough conversation, I think, today. It's not just about what you do, it's what you leave and how it's going to change the world and the people around you, your clients. And it lights me up every time I think about the conversations that he has. And so jimcollins.com, if you want to, if one of the girls can put that in the chat, jimcollins.com, an amazing website. It's a teaching website. It has a whole lot of incredible tools that you can download, assess your organization, and just some cool things like, you know, what's your flywheel, which he talks about. What's the driving force behind your business that's giving you, you know, that's going to continue building clients and building revenue. And he calls it funding. I love it. He doesn't call it revenue. He says what you do has to create funding to enable you to keep doing the things you're really good at and that you were meant to do. So I clearly get excited when I talk about it. So how has your week been, Kylie?
But I just have a couple more questions around that. So the one that you watched, the 2 lots of 4 hours, was that directly from his website?
No, that was actually, it was a Wobie event. So I bought a ticket from it. It came across my counter or my emails, and I was like, oh, Jim Collins. And I kind of went, oh, it's probably going to be like crazy amount of money because the man is a genius. And it was like $190. And I was like,
wow. And how do you spell Wobie?
WOBI. It's an event group. They're I've come across them a couple of times. I've done a couple of their master classes, and basically what they do is I should probably tell you what Wobie's on, what Wobie means, but essentially they just do a whole lot of online events and bring together people that you would not normally see in, you know, this part of the world. They might do, and if you are seeing them in person, it's like, you know, high ticket coaching. And they're bringing together by, you know, low ticket, easy access offer. So people around the globe, and I think there was something like 300 people on the webinar. And you can actually just get to listen to, and, you know, and the most incredible thing and my biggest takeaway, and this is going to sound very strange, and for anyone who does webinars and anyone who does podcasts or anything like this, the most powerful thing yesterday that Jim Collins did was to take a pause. And it was incredible. So when he was asked a question, and I was thinking about this, when we're asked questions by our clients, we often think we need to respond immediately to show that we know the answer. Like, well, I'll tell you the answer because I know it. But he has so much information in his head and he's got so much wisdom that he's really mindful about giving an answer that is very clean and direct and responding to that question. So it's not just a question, that's something that he's just pulling out of something that he knows. And he sat there for a good 15, 20 seconds after being asked the question to truly consider the answer. And it was the most powerful thing I've ever seen somebody do on a webinar because they gave it space. And it was just incredible.
Wow. Wow, Jenni, I am gobsmacked with that. As soon as you said it, my brain went into overdrive of all the times that I should take pauses. Not just on webinars, but in life in general.
Oh, like some of the goals, and I said as we're chatting today, I'll remember some of the goals because it's stuck in the back of my head because I'm excited now. But some of these amazing, the little insights in the way that he presents the information. And for him, it's very much about saying his purpose, his purpose is to create awareness and bring people up to be better, impactful, great companies. And that's his life mission. That's what he was meant to do, right? But when you look at him and when you talk to him, he's just this incredibly unassuming man. He talks about, he's not all about being perfect. It's not all about the amazing things I'm doing, but everything he does is empirically based. Everything. So he prides himself on, I've done the research. I've looked into it. I've spoken to people. I've talked to organizations. I've lent into the, the question and really, as an academic, posed the question. And so everything that's coming out is based on years and years of research that's been proven by all different organizations across the world. And so what he's writing is not just his amazing thoughts, but it's this culmination of knowledge and experience and research and academia and everything in a palatable way that you and I, who we're not researchers, we're not academics, just want to lean into and want to listen to. And it was just, I could literally, and I will be rewatching the two video. I was able to have a look at the videos, and I've done an order of it, so I have the content. So I'm going to listen to that again, so I can pull back some of those conversations. But yeah.
Bloody brilliant, Jenni. Thanks for sharing. And I love that you just did that little tidbit you threw in at the end, saying that you ottered it. So for those of you that don't know about otter, it's Jenni and Mike's one of our best friends, isn't it? So I will often otter so many different things. But firstly, if you've watched a live webinar, then ottering it means you can listen back just to the voice. So you can, listen as you're driving along, etc. But it also transcribes it. So you can take snippets out of it and turn it into quotes that you use on social media. And, you can use parts of it for a blog and say that I attended this, do a link out to that, which is great for your SEO, and, reference parts of it, etc. So ottering anything is such a great base point to start a whole lot of content in so many ways.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm so thrilled that you that you shared that. And Maureen's also said in the chat, and Julie has said, love that, the taking a pause. I just want to say one little thing on take pause. And I'm hoping my husband's not listening this morning, because it would be rare that he would be, but you never know. But often when we're having a chat and I need an instant answer from him, and I think that his brain should be working like mine, and so I ask a question, put it out there, it's a really big topic, and I'll go, what do you think of that? And then there was nothing. I'm like, dude, are you even listening? And he's like, I'm just thinking. And I'm thinking, how can you not have an answer straight away? Because it's a big thing. Surely you've got a feeling about it immediately that you could share, but he's very, very, very much a person that needs to consider it and think it and all of that. And it drives me crazy, absolutely crazy. Sometimes he'll even say, let's discuss that again tomorrow once I've thought about it. I'm like, oh my God. What? No. So when you said that about take a pause, and I was like, that is my husband all over. And I think I'm actually, after however many years with him, over 2 decades, well over 2 decades, time just flies, doesn't it? But I think now I get it. What you said, I actually finally get it with why he does that. Thanks.
Yeah, it's amazing. And the other one, sorry, and I've just put into the chat, I always get it wrong, I put it as a panelist, but I've just put in the chat for those who are on the Zoom, and maybe one of the guys could put it on the Facebook link as well if we're watching on Facebook, is one of the other quotes that I love is, the only mistakes that you can learn from are the ones that you survived.
Yes.
Which I also love, because it's that idea about, it's like, we talk about, I don't want to make mistakes, but if you can survive a mistake and then recognize and grow from that, then that's where you actually get, true connection and learning and understanding about who you are and what you do. So, so that's all about me.
Hang on, wait 1 second. Can you just read the next bit that you wrote down?
Oh yeah, so I wrote the full chat. So I wrote the full, I've just found the actual transcript from when he's talking to Peter Drucker, and it says, it occurs to me that you spend a lot of time worrying about if you will survive. And Peter Drucker says, you will probably survive. And you worry, will you be successful? That is the wrong question. The question is how to be useful.
Amazing.
So
Give and
powerful.
grow, give and grow. I love.
I know, right?
Grow and give. They're our kind of people, Jenni.
They really are, like, completely our type of people, which is why, you and I resonate so well, because we're doing this because we love to do it. And he talks about, and I guess it's he talks about, do the things you were born to do, right? Find something that you were born to do that you can also get funding from to enable you to keep doing it.
And I love, again, how you brought up that funding thing, getting the funding for it, because the funding can come in many, many different ways. That you can actually then go forth and do what it is you need to do. And isn't it interesting how many people are doing what they don't want to do? So I had a little situation at our local shop the other day where I said, how are you going? And he said, oh, well, it will be better when I finish my shift. And I thought, what a shame. Because even when I did odd jobs, I don't mean like odd jobs like lawn mowing, I mean odd jobs like, when I was studying at uni and stuff, the sort of jobs that weren't my dream jobs, they were just jobs to get me through, I always had a ball. I loved the people that I'd work with, would have a laugh. The ones I didn't like, we would find a way to have a laugh. There's always a way to make what you're doing every day enjoyable. Like people that are in lockdown, let's turn it into fun. Let's have some Zooms. Let's do lots of different things.
Yeah.
And so I felt really sad for him that there he was at this stage in life going, it'll be better when I've finished here. It's like, find a way to make it better. Find a way to live your best life.
People think, and I agree with that so much, is that we have a limit. We all have this, a limited time on the planet in this current format, in this current form, whatever your belief structure is, right? And so that's the one kind of leveler with all of us is, so if you're spending your time doing something that you dislike, that basically destroys your soul, there is so much opportunity, particularly at the moment. I know even with COVID at the moment, there's still opportunity to do something that you want to do something that you love to do. There's more opportunity to do it now because you can do it online. Whereas before you'd be like, oh, I really want to do this amazing online business, but no one will watch it, or no one will go there, or no one will do it because it's online. That's where the world is going. I don't go to Woolworths anymore. I'm sorry, Woolworths, I love you, but I do shopping. I do like click and collect now. I don't go into the store because I don't want to spend an hour of my time wandering around the supermarket. I can spend 7 minutes doing my order online through the online shopping, click and collect 3 hours later, pick it up, come home, and I can spend that other hour either reading a book or taking some time or being with my family, because I've worked out better ways to use my time. Like, it's easy if you want to find something to do, if it really drives you. And it's no excuse now to say, well, it's the only thing I can do, or because there's too much opportunity now to be stuck doing something you hate.
Jenni, that is so perfect, particularly around our topic is when is enough enough. And I had this exact conversation in Monday morning's group coaching where somebody was saying, I just am trying to resist all the AI, all of that, and just, be as person-centered as I possibly can. I said, I totally get that. But for me, for example, doing my grocery shopping online means that I'm actually doing more people time, because the stuff that I would be doing on my own possibly or whatever is actually being done much quicker. Also, I do it online and ask my family, well, what do you think? Should we get that? Should we get that? Should we get that? So actually there's a bit of interaction going on with it. And then it's just dealt with. And I feel like then it gives me more time to do people-centered things. But my husband and I, every Sunday, we have a date afternoon or a date evening.
Love.
And, pardon?
I said, I love that. I love that.
And he organizes it every time. It's his thing. And then afterwards, it's always, 90% of the time it's in Byron, which is just down the road from us. And then afterwards, we'll go to his favorite supermarket, which is the Byron Woolies, and he just goes to his favorite little bits where he knows he's going to get something. So it's not a big shop, it's just a whip in, get a few things, and and off we go. They have a particularly good butcher there, by the way, one of the few Woolies that still actually has a butcher. Anyway, that said, I don't want to take away from our local butcher in our village, who's wonderful. But anyway, just making that clear, I do believe in shop small, shop local. Yes. But what I was trying to say is it doesn't take away from the things that we would do together doing that shop online. It just takes the heat off needing to do that chore drudgery that takes so much time. Exactly. So, and also I said to her, and on the flip side, I'm actually spending less money when I do it online because I'm not tempted by the little things at the end of the aisles that I am made to think I need. And that's why Aldi is so clever. I probably go there like maybe once every couple of months, and I'm a sucker for those middle aisles. An absolute sucker. Suddenly I've got a ski jacket and I'm not going skiing.
Oh, that's awesome. The enough thing is so funny though, isn't it? Because we talk about what enough, like we always think about the frame of enough in terms of revenue or what all those other things we think about in a business context. But we also have to think about enough in our life as well, because there's, you know, I don't want to use the term moderation because I think I just don't like the word. It's just got a weird feel to me. But having that idea of what's enough for you and what works for you is really what creates a full life. It's not about saying I should, you know, I go to gym 6 days a week. I love it. You know, I would probably train twice a day if my trainer would let me, and if I knew it wasn't going to completely destroy me and exhaust me, and I could do nothing but train, that would make me really happy. But it's not sustainable. So for me, training once a day, 6 days a week is enough for me. And taking the dog for a walk and spending time on the weekend down the park with the dog, that's enough. But then for other people, 2 days a week at the gym is enough for them. In the same way, it might be, I just want to go for a walk instead of having to do this, or whatever enough is for you. We think about enough if we think about it as a holistic sense, is what are all the areas in your life that you're trying to fit in together? You know, in the book that I read, I was sharing a couple of weeks ago about Effortless. He talks about the big rocks, right? So the enough is, what are all those big rocks? What's enough? How many big rocks do you want to manage? How many things do you want to have in your life that you need to manage that you can do successfully before your life starts to get too much? Before you have to say, I've got 8 things that are really important, but I need time to do 6. So if I have to do those other 2, what is a better way for me to do it? Maybe AI is the way to do it. Maybe it is automation, because that's the only way you can achieve your outcome or achieve what you want. It's not just about revenue. Revenue is a really important part, and having enough money or abundance. And we talked about this on Wednesday at our coaching session when we, I said, well, what are you trying to achieve? And somebody said, oh, independent, financial independence, which I love. But what does that mean to you? And I like that better than a number, because financial independence can mean I can pay my rent without looking at it, or I can fly to Europe without looking at my bank account, or I can just buy a pair of shoes without looking at it. There doesn't have to be a monetary value to what abundance is. It's just what you make it.
Jenni, that was so wonderful on Wednesday morning. So for those of you that don't know, Jenni has these group coaching, I was going to call it a course. It's not exactly a course, is it?
It's called the Messy Middle Coaching Program.
There you go. And so I take part in it and I love it. And the thing that she talked about on Wednesday was about the ladder. So it's all about finding, working out what your goals are, but then actually pulling back and how are you going to do it rung by rung. And it was so good listening. And one thing that you said that I absolutely loved, Maureen says, what's it called? It's called the messy middle. And I love it, Maureen. I've been part of it for a long time. I don't end when the 6 months is over. I just keep going.
I love having you in it too.
Well, and that said, to be honest, I'm kind of naughty with it. I don't appear all the time, but I do as often as I can, and I absolutely love it. But one of the things that you said on Wednesday, or I think it was somebody in the group said, Jenni, was about the enough thing, or the, your goal or whatever. So the goal being like maybe 5 years ago or 5 weeks ago, or today, or wherever everybody's obviously at different stages. But maybe your goal is being able to go to the shop and pay the groceries and not have to check that you've got enough money for it, that you just know that you can buy what you need to buy. And I don't mean, crazy frivolous stuff, but actually not worrying that card is going to decline. And, everybody's been there. It's a challenging place to be. And then what about, a year down the track, or 5 months down the track, or 5 years down the track, or whenever it is, that you're no longer thinking that it's definitely a different state of mind, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So it was just wonderful the way that you talked about it, about we're all at different stages and we all have different goals, but they're also similar, that we all want some kind of financial security, financial independence. How are we actually going to make it? And what does that look like for us?
And it comes down to, and I think we talked about this, it's financial independence is one, abundance of time, and then freedom to do what we want to do and live the role that we're meant to live. So if you're lucky like you and I, or you're not, and luck is not actually about it, if you've created a space where you can do what you love to do so that you work in the same space that you're passionate about, then that piece around freedom is much easier, because we have the freedom to deliver coaching and do the work we want to do in the way that suits us. But for me, that's face-to-face. That's high-touch, deeply human programs. For you, that's all via Zoom. It's still high-touch, deeply human programs, because they're still face-to-face contact. Other people want to do low-touch, really coming from the heart program, but online, because that suits them and their environment and their life and their customers. That's awesome. So doing that freedom piece, I think we always leave to the end. But that's the bit that we actually want to strive for first. When we're thinking about what's enough, I want to start with freedom in how I work and show up in the world every day. That's going to create the space that allows me to have more time, that allows me to have financial independence and abundance, because I have freedom and choice in how I want to deliver that. And I think sometimes we look at it the wrong way. We start with the money that says it gives us freedom, but it's actually not. Freedom enables us to be abundant.
That's so interesting, because freedom for me, and the reason I first knew I couldn't work for anyone else and needed to be in business for myself, which was back in my 20s, was because I don't like being told what to do. I didn't like not being, like, for example, if you've got a job and the hours are 9 to 5, and I would do 9 to 7 because, I had things to do. And then you go in the next morning and you're 5 minutes late and they're cross. It's like, whoa, not even acknowledging the ridiculous amount of extra hours I do every single day. Yeah. But, and that kind of thing just really bugged me. And I really quickly realized I have to be my own boss, because I absolutely do not like being cornered. And interestingly enough, with my own business, I can't be late. But funny enough, that I just didn't like it being told that I couldn't be late by someone else.
That's your enough. And if we think about enough in that framework, you had worked out what enough for you in your workspace as an employee. You worked out where your ceiling was, and you went out. You were starting to hit that ceiling of, this is not comfortable anymore. I've had enough of this. So again, we look at enough in terms of what I can have and what all the big things. But let's look at what you have right now. What have you got that's working for you, that's not working for you? When do you get to that cutoff point that says, I need to make a change? That's your enough figure as well. That's your enough point, is saying, I've had enough of this environment. I need to create a new one. So when we look at enough, let's look at it bigger than just how much money we're going to make. It's how much time do you want to spend doing something? How much time do you want to spend being told what to do? How much time do you want to spend in a job that you hate? When is enough enough?
Oh, absolutely. And I know that we're at time, but maybe we could just talk for a few more minutes, because I want to bring up about our clients and our customers. And when is it enough to be working with people? When is it enough, for example, to put it, if you've got a shop, to say, I don't have to serve you anymore because you're always rude, or I don't have to work with you anymore, whether it's on Zoom or whatever, because it doesn't give me a good feeling, or whatever it is. When is enough? How do you make those decisions?
Such a good question, Kylie. I learned this about 2 years ago when I had you know me, I struggle to say no the best of times. And so yes is my first response. I blame 7 years in the military, where the answer is always yes, and then we work it out, right? But I had a client that she and I started off being really close and really connected. But as I was seeing the business grow one way and how it needed to grow to be sustainable, she was starting to do other things. And so all of a sudden, we started to be misaligned in what my purpose was in the job, what her purpose was in the business, and what she saw my role. And so over a time, it took me probably 2 months and a lot of anxiety, to be truthful, about how I manage this. And I'd go, oh my God, I've got to have my call with her. And I love this woman. She's incredible. But the idea of having to work in this environment was terrible. So what I did is I actually created an arrangement, or I changed the frame of it. It wasn't about me not working for her or not wanting to work with her. What I recognized was, this is no longer tenable for either of us. I'm not enjoying it. And if I'm not enjoying it, she's probably not enjoying it either. But I've only been looking at it through how I feel right now. So as somebody who's a service deliverer, I'm always conscious of what am I doing and what's the impact on the other person. And if I'm not having fun, guaranteed they're not enjoying it either. So then we actually had a conversation that said, how's things going? I'm just wondering where you want to take this relationship, because I feel like I've got to this point And what I'm seeing is this. And her response was, actually, I was going to have the same conversation with you. I just didn't know how to do it. So sometimes I think when we're in those situations where things are not comfortable, we do need to pull our big girl pants on and be like, I'm actually just going to be honest. And I think if you're honest and truthful and come with integrity when you get to that enough point, even if it's in a shop, I've had people in a shop do that. I know I've gone into a shop because I've gone, you've screwed up. And I've probably been a little bit much because they've completely screwed up. And the woman has said to me, I don't need to talk to you anymore. And I went, oh, I wasn't being rude. She's like, actually, you were. And it was interesting because I didn't think I was being rude. I was just saying, I just want to tell you what's wrong. But it came across to her as being a little bit too much. And so she said to me, I actually don't want to talk to you anymore. I'm going to walk away. If you want to stay here, you can, and I'll find someone else to serve you. And I actually felt, I was annoyed at the time, but then I looked back and went, that is freaking brilliant. Because she'd hit her enough point. She'd said, you know what? This is not working for me now. Maybe because she realized she made the mistake and she just didn't want to deal with it. But making that choice to be really bold and saying it's not working and I'm going to walk away because that's best for both of us. That's what we actually need to do in all those situations, I believe.
Yeah, good on her.
Yeah.
Awkward at the time, but
you're like, oh my God. What? And you're like fuming and like, what did he? And you're like, oh, hang on. Yeah, good point. So, you know, I can't give the advice and then not take it, can I?
Oh, I love it. Hi, Tracy. Tracy, my beautiful friend from the States. She's listening and she said boundaries are so important.
Oh, yes. Oh,
yes.
Hello, Miss Amira. Haven't seen you.
Yay. Hi. So I think I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. For me, when I was looking at what was success was being able to turn away a client or being able to have that discovery and call and say, let me recommend you to someone else or something because it didn't feel right. So for me, that very much brought around the thought about when is enough. Yeah. So I didn't need to make more and more money each month. What I needed to do was make my enough figure, but then decide I don't need to work with people that I don't feel like I resonate with, or that they're going to take action or the action that I need them to blah, 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 blah. So all of that kind of stuff, that was my first understanding of we all have completely different ideas about success.
Yeah.
And what's my enough figure, but also what's my enough boundary line of who I want to work with, how I want to work. Do I just want to work myself into the ground? So, next thing, I'm sick because I've worked too hard. So it's interesting. How about for you, Jenni?
It's a really good question. For me, I have a couple of enough points. I think I have a vision of what I want the company to look like, and I want to be able to serve 1,000 businesses over the course of my time. And I think when I get to 1,000 businesses, it'll be like, oh, okay, now what do I do? Because we do high touch stuff, so we can't do hundreds of businesses a year. So there's that piece from me going in terms of that's my driving line. That's where I'm working to. That's what I want to achieve in the business. And what that looks like, I'm really quite fluid about. I have a revenue number that I want to achieve. And if you're in the coaching programs, we talk about it quite openly about what that looks like and what that is and how I'm achieving that. And so that revenue figure for me is not so much as enough figure that as a cap. It's simply saying at that point, I will have reached what I expected to reach in the business. I will have some people on. And so for enough and success for me is clients who are actually making a difference in their own lives through the work that I do. And I'm very much about that work. I do some consulting work outside the coaching programs, and the same thing in the consulting work I'm doing. I think I realized I was successful in what I wanted to do when one of my clients said to me, we wanted to work with you because you're not like a normal consultant. Wow. And I think I recognized for me, that was the point I was always trying to be. I don't want to be a cookie cutter consultant. I don't want to turn up in the same things. And I think I did a post this morning saying maybe it's because I wear Air Force Ones to meetings and not high heels anymore. And I've chosen to kind of lean into how I like to be and how comfortable I am. That resonates with consultants and clients around that I'm different. And I think that to me is what successful looks like, that I can still, do what I love to do, earn funding and get revenue for it, and be different and be me. That's success, whatever that number is.
Beautiful, Jenny. Thank you for sharing that. I just love it. And I think that needs to be your tagline on your website, not a cookie cutter consultant.
It's very true. Because I mean, but it's funny when you go, somebody says something to you, but I've had 3 people say that to me in the last month, and I kind of was like, oh, okay. But it's now made me realign what that looks like. But it's like with you make a choice about how you want to show up and how you serve your clients, and that's what works for you, because that's why people love you, because you're like, this is how you work with me, people. This is how you get the best of me, and this is how I'm going to show up for you. And if you want to come and match that for me, then you can come and join any of my programs, be an action taker, join the masterclasses, join one of my, gold, bronze, or silver programs, do that. But you get me, you get Kylie. And that's what I love about it, because it's all about you and your expertise on a plate. And all they need to do is say, yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah, you've said that beautifully. All I've got to do is say, yeah, that sounds cool. I love it, Jenny. That's magic. Oh, look, that was
So we can say that's cool. How do people find you to say that's cool?
Jump onto my website, hellomedia.team, or find us on social media at the hellomedia.team, or not just hellomedia.team. What about you, Jenny?
At Elephant in the Room AU on Insta and Facebook are the 2 places that I like to hang out the most. Find me on LinkedIn and others through those 2 platforms, but at Elephant in the Room AU. The website will be put in the chat and is also through my Facebook page.
Great. Thank you. So next week, we'll see you back here for another session of bite-sized conversations. And what I would love to talk about as our topic is how do you show up in places where you don't want to be?
Oh, yes. Let's do that. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Because as soon as you said, my favorite places to be are Facebook and Instagram, but you can also find me on LinkedIn. And I'm thinking, interesting. So whether that is on social media, the places you don't want to be, whether it's turning up at networking events that you're super uncomfortable with, but you know you should, where is it that you feel like you need to turn up and show up? Let's talk about that. That'll be
That's going to be a fun conversation, I think. And just for the record, we love showing up here every week.
Yes, we do.
A place we do love to be, and this is not going to be one of the places that we don't want to be next Friday. So come and join us and find out where they are.
Yay. All right. I look forward to it. You have a wonderful day, Jenny. Great weekend. And everyone, thanks for joining us. See you next week.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Appreciate your comments. Have a great day.
Bye.